There's a debate raging among the smartest people in the golf world, and at times it's gotten kind of heated.
You were trying to sell this angle of attack thing, and it's not.
I don't have to sell it. I don't have to sell it. It sells itself. I don't have to sell it.
The friction is
Sir Isaac Newton sold it about 400 years ago. I don't have to sell it.
It all has to do with something called low point, and even though these really smart people disagree about it, they're arguing about it because they all recognize how important the low point is. When you're chipping, the location of the low point helps determine launch. It helps determine how the ball flies and the way the ball dances once it does land on the green. And when you look closely at an elite chipper like Jordan Spieth, one of the very best in golf today, you can spot a series of clever moves that he uses to dial in his own low point. And the best thing about it is that you can use those same techniques too. Let's break it down. Okay, so the low point is quite simply the lowest point of your golf swing. The bottom of every golf swing, every single one, looks like this. It's an arc, which is how the club head moves right around the ball. And somewhere along that arc, the club head hits both the ground and it hits the golf ball. Pretty simple, except lots of things can go wrong. This arc, it can tilt like this. It can pivot around like this, and it can move backwards and forwards. Generally speaking, players use the middle of their chest as an indication of where their golf swing's low point is. That's why when you take a look at Jordan Spieth's driver swing, you can see that the ball position is up in his stance, which puts the middle of his chest and therefore his golf swing's low point pretty far behind the ball. Now this is good because Spieth's club head then bottoms out behind the ball and then rises by the time it's time to hit it. He hits the ball on a slight upswing, which is really good for drives. Now, as clubs get shorter, players want the low point to shift forward, so it's in front of the golf ball. That's why you see Spieth move the ball position back in his stance for his irons, and it's why divots, hopefully, appear after the golf ball, because your club hits the ball first, travels down the arc to the low point before rising back up again. And somewhere along that journey, the ground gets in the way. I'm telling you this because it's crucially important for chip shots, and elite chippers like Jordan Spieth, they know how to move around their low point in subtle ways to hit all different kinds of shots. Here's Jordan Spieth hitting a pretty standard, lowish, spinny chip shot. So what does he do? He narrows his stance, he moves the ball position back, and he gets his hands forward, then he piles weight onto his front left leg. All these things pull the center of his body and therefore the low point of his golf swing arc forward. So now it's a few inches ahead of the golf ball. That's what helps him hit down on it. And now this is good, but the thing is, it's not quite enough. Some research from Ping recently found that better players hit a lot more down on their chips and pitches than worse golfers. They get the low point of their golf swing pretty far forward, way past the golf ball. And that is kind of what this heated golf instruction debate is all about. Whether golfers should be trying to do this even more, to move their low point way forward and hit really far and steeply down on the golf ball. And yes, while it's a pretty nerdy debate, it's a debate because teachers recognize that this is really important stuff. They're all trying to figure it out so they can get it right for the rest of us. But anyway, to get the low point even further forward here, Spieth and other great chippers start doing something really clever. You can see it here. They start moving their entire body towards the target on the backswing. Now this move kind of happens in full swings, but it's really dialed up here. Viktor Hovland started doing this move like crazy a few seasons ago after he admitted that he sucked at chipping, and his short game got way better because of it. And you can see Spieth continue to make this move towards the target with his body all the way into impact. He started with his low point forward, but as soon as he starts his swing, he's racing to get that low point even further forward. And for every inch his body moves towards the target, he brings his golf swing's low point with it. By the time he hits the ball itself, his low point is way ahead of where it started. And remember, it already started pretty far forward. This move is what helps Jordan Spieth hit so severely down on the golf ball. And when you add in a high lofted club, the combination of the club going down and the loft pointing up creates a huge spin loft and a ripping amount of spin. But of course, this is just one shot. When Spieth needs to float something higher, a higher wedge shot, look at the adjustments he makes again. He widens his stance, and then he puts the ball more forward. Similar in some ways to that driver setup we saw earlier. This puts the low point of his golf swing further back, so now it's more in line with the ball itself. If you look closely, you can see he still makes that shift towards the target on the backswing, but it's not as severe as it was before. And if you look closely at his head on the downswing, you can notice that now his body is pulling more up and away instead of flowing continuously towards the target. Again, all this stuff is Spieth managing the low point of his move. This time, he puts it closer to the golf ball, he hits the ball with a more sweeping motion, which launches it higher and stops it dead when it lands. Now, the great players, as they always do, figured out this stuff intuitively, but they chart the path for the rest of us. The next time you're over a chip, forget about the golf ball for a moment. Think instead about the bottom of your golf swing. When will the club reach the very bottom? Then place the golf ball so it simply gets in the way. Learn the lessons of the low point from the greats, and maybe you'll even get a glimpse of the same results.